Tomorrow is my son's birthday, and I usually make him this cognac cake. It's chocolate cake that is soaked with cognac. So if you're driving anywhere, make sure not to have a slice. It's a cake that it's delicious, light, and very flavorful. And every year I do the same one because it's his favorite. We'll start with the ingredients so you know exactly what we're going to be doing. The cake starts with 3/4 of a cup of flour. Of course, we will put 3 teaspoons of baking powder, which equals 1 tablespoon. 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. I have 6 eggs that are going to be separated, whites separated from yolks. I have a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of oil, any vegetable oil will do, and that's it, and 2 tablespoons of brandy in the cake. And there we will have more brandy as we go through because we have to soak the cake, and then we have also to make the frosting. So this is a great birthday cake celebration, chocolate cake celebration. What I'm gonna start with is separating the whites from the yolks. So I can froth the whites with half of the amount of the sugar, so half of cup of sugar, until I reach to volumized egg whites, which has soft peak at the end, and I'll show you as we go. I'm saying all this because I don't want to talk while the machine is going. And then we will add the yolks in. We will beat the egg yolks with the rest of the sugar, some of the brandy again, and we'll add to that the flour, cocoa powder, and baking soda, and then we will fold both mixtures together. So we will fold the egg whites into the other mixture which has the yolks and fold them lightly, and we will bake it in 350 degrees for very little time. I'll tell you exact time as soon as it's done baking, and then we will go to stage 2, which is soaking the cake after it cools down, of course, with some cognac and coffee syrup, and we will end up with doing the frosting, which is also a delicious part of this whole experience. Let's get started. I'll separate the eggs. Now everything is best to be at room temperature, and it is harder to separate eggs when they are at room temperature because they are much runnier. So you can do this as the eggs are cold, and then wait for them about half an hour to come to room temperature and then use them. So when you are frothing egg whites, always make sure that your mixer, the tools, everything is super clean, has no residues of oil whatsoever, because that will keep the whites from frothing well and volumizing. So at many times, if I'm not sure, you can always put a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel and wipe your bowl before using it, and this way you make sure that the bowl is completely oil-free, so everything is gonna work perfect. To froth the egg whites, we need this beater, so we attach it. We pour the egg whites into our mixing bowl, and we start frothing. And as we are frothing, I'm gonna be adding slowly half of the sugar, which is half a cup. As soon as the egg whites are frothed, I will start adding slowly the half cup of sugar that is needed into them. Next, adding a tablespoon of brandy. And now we will check what kind of a peak do we have on those whites. So when you take out the beater, this is a hard peak. The peak is continuing to stay straight. Soft peak is when this edge, the edge of the peak, starts drooping down. So soft peak is even better because it folds much easier, but hard peak is gonna work too. Make sure that you don't overbeat it, then the egg whites start breaking. It becomes like you can cut it with a knife or something. So that is a very uncomfortable state of egg whites to work with. So this is good right now. I'm pouring the egg whites into a bowl so I can use that mixer to mix my yolks. If you have another bowl for your mixer, that will be a great time to use it. I don't, so I will be doing this. Now for the egg yolks, the bowl doesn't need to be super clean because they don't get affected by volumizing while mixing them. So the yolks, as you all know, they have a lot of fat in them, so they don't get bothered. So what I'm gonna do is pour the egg yolks in the same bowl without cleaning it. It's okay. And I will also, at this stage, put the rest of the sugar, and I don't need to go slow with the egg yolks either. They are less sensitive. And I will also add the second tablespoon of the brandy, and I will beat them until they are pale. Meanwhile, I will be adding the cocoa powder into the 3/4 of a cup of flour, and I will also add the 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon baking powder in there, and I'll lightly mix this for it to be ready for me to pour it into the batter afterwards. We will be adding 2 tablespoons of oil into the egg yolks. We're almost there. The egg yolks are light pale yellow. The egg yolks are pale yellow. It gets really noisy. So to this, I'm gonna add the flour mixture. Don't breathe all the dust. And I'll lightly mix them, and then we'll fold in the egg whites. Okay. At this point, and slightly mix the egg yolks with the flour that have got stuck on the sides of this bowl. And this batter here, the egg yolk batter, is pretty stiff, and I'll show you. It's pretty stiff. If you see, it's stiff. Now what we're gonna do is we will lighten this batter with the egg whites that we have. Now we will put part of the white, just a big plump of it, and lighten the cocoa powder, the cocoa mixture that we have in here with that little whites. And when they get to a texture that is easy to work with, then we add the rest of the egg whites so we can fold them in. Now I have a little lighter texture here, so I will be adding another lump of the whites and I'll try to fold it in. So folding is going around the bowl and to the middle, around the bowl and to the middle, just like that. And be patient and go slow until you have an even mixture. Because you don't want to deflate the volume that you have created in the whites. Okay, now time to the rest of the whites. And in the same manner, you just fold in. A firm spatula is works much better. Okay, now we have a very cloudy feel batter, really fluffy and nice. This I will pour into a pre-prepared pan. I have a 10-inch pre-prepared pan which I oiled and dusted with some flour. You can also dust it with cocoa powder if you want the cake to stay dark so it doesn't have the white floury specks on it, although we're going to be covering it with the frosting at the end. The one I chose opens on the side so it's easy access, but if you don't have one of those you can also use any other pan that doesn't open, and when it comes out of the oven let it sit for 5 minutes. Run a wet cold towel under and around, and then just turn it around and put a knife around the edges and just flip it out, and it's gonna work too. If you choose a 8 inches pan, it will work as well. It's gonna take a little bit longer to bake because it's gonna be thicker, but you will have a higher result, a higher cake at the end. So you have choices here. Okay, this is ready and my oven just beeped for me that it's ready to take the cake in. The cake is baking in the oven, and meanwhile we're gonna do the syrup that we're gonna drench the cake with when it cools down. And this syrup also needs to be cold. So what I'm gonna start with is first actually 2 teaspoons of instant coffee or a shot of espresso, of your favorite espresso. But if you don't have that, you can use 2 teaspoons of coffee. I will use 1/3 cup of brandy with 2/3 of a cup of water. And you can also add a teaspoon of sugar if you like that into this syrup to make it sweeter a little bit. And that's it. We'll let this cool, and we'll put together the cake when the cake is ready. 25 minutes later, the cake is baked, nice and high, and we'll wait for it to cool down so I can open this and move forward. I'm gonna be releasing the cake now. I can touch it. It's cooled down a little bit. It's about 10 minutes after it was baked. Just to make sure that the cake was completely baked, I poke a toothpick or something in the center and I take it out. And if that toothpick is clean, it means that the cake has cooked all the way through. So now I'm gonna open this like that, and we'll let it cool on a plate until so it's completely cool before we slice. We're gonna slice the cake horizontally so we can fill it with the frosting and then cover the top too. But we will cut horizontally first, and we will drench it with the brandy syrup that we have created, brandy coffee syrup, and that all is done when the cake is completely cooled down. So we'll see. The cake is cooled down. It's time to cut it. You just take the knife in the middle and you go around just like that. You can also do it with a string, like floss, not minted floss, no flavored floss, that you can put it in the middle and just pull it through. But I do it with the knife. I've been doing this all my life. I find it easy enough to just get the right result. And now I have 2 halves, just like this. And I'm gonna take the cognac coffee syrup and I will pour from the edges slowly into the center. And I'm gonna do the same with the other half. Make sure that you cover all the dry spots so you can have an even drench. It eventually is gonna soak it all in and spread it all lovingly all around. Now we will be preparing the frosting. Frosting time. For the frosting we will need this 5.9 ounce instant chocolate pudding, 2 cups of heavy cream, 1 cup of milk. So we will empty this package in our bowl here. Really easy frosting and delicious. Okay, into that I will add 1 cup of milk, cold milk, and I will also add a teaspoon, flat teaspoon, not too thick of a teaspoon, instant coffee. And we will put our whisk into our machine, and we're just gonna dissolve the instant pudding in that milk a little bit, and then I'm gonna be adding the heavy cream. At this point, I will add the heavy cream. Two cups. And I will whip until it's really nice and thick. As soon as the cream has thickened, we will add a tablespoon of brandy. And that will be the finishing touch with the brandy. Okay. Here is our cream. See how it's soft peak? It's really nice, thick enough, but not too thick that we cannot spread. I will put some of this cream on the first layer. This is the bottom of the cake. With a spatula, I'll spread it evenly. Now I will cover with the second layer of the cake. And just drop all what's left from the cream. I'm just making sure that I get all the bottom too. Onto the cake. And I will spread this all over, bringing the cream down to the sides as well. And those little specks, if you see them, this is the coffee. I like to have a little specks like that. If you don't like it, don't put the coffee. Or you can also melt the coffee in warm water, just tiny bit, just a touch of warm water, so they dissolve, and then put them in. But when this cake is not going to be cut until tomorrow. It's best even to do it 2 days in advance for all the flavors to marry each other and mingle and communicate and deliver the best taste at the end. And while this is happening, those specks of coffee, they're going to be softened and they will mellow down and be part of the chocolate experience, which I love. This is the cake. You can decorate it the way you wish. I sometimes decorate it. I shave some dark chocolate with just a peeler, and I will just make little drops like this. So each piece, when it's cut, it has some of these delicious shavings on top. And here you go. You have a wonderful looking birthday cake for my son to celebrate his birthday. I'll show you when we cut it on his birthday how it looks from the inside and share the taste, which I love already. We are on June 14 today. It is my Nicholas's birthday, and I baked this yesterday, so it's much better than the day after or 2 days even after. This is the cognac cake or brandy cake that we have baked yesterday. He's gonna turn his candles and do his wishes, and I'll show you how it looks from the inside. We are all vaccinated, no corona in this cake. Okay. Happy birthday, Nicholas.
Happy Nicholas.
You cut. That's how the cake looks. Now he's gonna taste it.
I wait for this moment all year. Put another one for his daddy. So good. The chocolate with the cognac, when it's nice and fluffy,
Has coffee.
hits the spot. And it goes especially well with some bergamot.
Happy birthday. See you next video.